guys, welcome to our channel. My name, really? Okay. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Marissa and I'm a 9th grade English teacher and I love reading. Some genres I like to read are fiction, literary fiction, mystery, thriller, historical fiction. The only genre that I feel like I haven't been able to get really into is fantasy. So if you have any recommendations for beginning fantasy readers, please let me know. So another thing about me is I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, so I thought it would be fun to give you some book recommendations based on Taylor Swift songs. So the way that it's going to work is I picked one of my favorite songs from each of her albums, and then I'll tell you a book that kind of gives the same vibe. So this is my first ever video, so if you like today's video, please like and subscribe and comment, and you can also follow me on TikTok, Reading with Rissa. So let's just get into it. Okay, so of course we've got to start with Taylor's first ever album, which is debut, called Taylor Swift, but of course us Swifties know it's debut. So my favorite song on that album, it was really hard to pick, but I selected Tied Together with a Smile. So a book that reminds me of Tied Together with a Smile. This is kind of funny, but I actually haven't read this book yet, but I'm just pretty sure that's going to fit the vibe. So that would be Fly Away by Kristin Hannah, and this is a sequel to Firefly Lane by Kristin Hannah. And I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the main character in this book is a big TV presence and she always is expected to be on and of course like smiling. She came from the news world, being a news reporter and things like that. So when this loss happens in her life and she's dealing with this grief, she is kind of like tied together with a smile, and the whole song is about how someone, I think I've heard this, so correct me if I'm wrong, Swifties, but I think that Taylor Swift wrote this song about her friend that had an eating disorder and nobody knew about it, and like her friend obviously was trying to act like nothing was wrong. But of course it's a really relatable song because I feel like we've all been through a time in our lives when we felt like we were tied together with a smile and nobody knew that, like we cried and we didn't tell anyone, as the lyric goes. So I feel like this book is going to fit that perfectly. I'll have to actually read this book and let you know what I think, but I haven't picked it up yet because I think it's going to be really sad and you just have to be in the right headspace to read something like that and want to have a good cry. So that's the first one. Okay, so the next Taylor album is Fearless, and my favorite song on Fearless is Today Was a Fairy Tale. So the book that I picked for that song is Just for the Summer by Jimenez. So the reason that I picked Just for the Summer is because I feel like Justin comes in and kind of sweeps Emma off her feet, even though she's a little bit resistant. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot of it. What? I feel like Justin sweeps Emma off her feet even though she's resistant to getting attached, and he just does a bunch of cute things that I feel like are kind of fairy tale-esque, like it's every girl's dream kind of. So on their first date, Justin sends Emma this survey for what kind of date she wants to go in or go on, even like the attire, business casual or fancy, things like that, and I just think that's so romantic. Also, through this book, one thing I love about this book is a lot of their date plans go awry and they have to deal with real life stuff, but yet Justin still makes it fairy tale-esque for her, which I think is really cute. So that's this book. So the next album is Speak Now, and I'm really excited about this one because my favorite song on Speak Now is Enchanted, and as soon as I decided on Enchanted, this book immediately popped into my mind, and I have not picked this book up since early high school years, so it was kind of crazy that I just randomly thought about it. But it's One Day in December by Elsie Silver. This is a love at first sight trope, and what happens, and this is everything I'm about to say is on the back of the book, so no spoilers, but Lori, the main character, thinks she experiences love at first sight when she sees a stranger through a misty train window, but they don't actually get to meet. So she spends a year thinking about him, pining over him, thinking about how can they encounter each other again. So when they do encounter each other again is a year later at a Christmas party when Lori's best friend introduces this guy as her boyfriend. So now this guy that Lori has been pining over for a year and thinks she had love at first sight with is now dating her best friend. So this goes over a span of 10 years, and the reason that I picked Enchanted is because the enchanted song is all about somebody that you first meet and you're enchanted by, and it's kind of like a little bit of love at first sight, and you're just like, the lyrics of the song say, please don't be in love with someone else, please don't have someone waiting on you. So I feel like Enchanted fits the vibe of this book perfectly. Okay, so the next album is Red, and the song that I picked off of Red is State of Grace, and I personally like the acoustic version, so just keep that in mind. The book that I picked for this is Nora Goes Off Script, and I don't have a physical copy of this. A lot of these books that I'll be mentioning I borrowed from the library, if you know you know, on Libby, so I have my Kindle and Hot Girls Read and Listen to Taylor Swift, so that's very fitting. So the reason that I picked Nora Goes Off Script for this is because Leo, this actor, ends up filming a movie at her house. So they use her house as the set location for the movie, and he ends up staying with her for a period of time, and they start to fall for each other, which is unexpected. Just like State of Grace says, I never saw you coming, it'll never be the same. It's unexpected because she's going through a divorce, like she is going through the aftermath of the collapse of her marriage. She has 2 young kids, and of course that makes her resistant to open up. So that's why I picked Nora Goes Off Script for State of Grace, because it's an unexpected romance that changes both of them forever. Okay, so the next album is 1989, and my favorite song off this album, I'm doing Taylor's version, obviously, and the vault songs on 1989 are my favorite. So the book I picked for Now That We Don't Talk is Funny Story by Emily Henry. So the premise of this book, and again, this is not spoilers because it tells you on the dust cover, but this starts off with Daphne, who is engaged to Peter, and Peter leaves Daphne because he falls in love with his best friend Petra. So the funny thing about it, pun intended, is that Petra's fiance named Miles ends up moving in with Daphne. So they end up moving in together because they're both left pretty desolate after their fiancés leave them. Anyway, so they end up kind of liking each other, and that's all I'll say. But I think that fits well for this song because it's all about a breakup and things like that, and Daphne still has to grapple with, well, Daphne and Miles both have to grapple with their feelings, grieving over their ex-fiancés, but also introducing some new feelings to each other. So the song doesn't fit it perfectly, but I feel like the vibe is the same. Okay, so the next album is Reputation, and I think I have the perfect book for this album, well, for this song. So I picked Getaway Car, and the book that I picked for this one is The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, and I listened to this one on audio with Libby. So the cover of The Do-Over has a car on it, so I feel like that one fit perfectly, but not only because of that, but the substance of the book matches the song. So Emily has to relive Valentine's Day over and over because she's having like a disastrous Valentine's Day, and her boyfriend, she finds out on Valentine's Day that her boyfriend Josh is cheating on her, because of course he does, because his name's Josh. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, she ends up running into her classmate Nick, who's kind of standoffish, and he kind of rescues her, so to speak, and they're like riding around throughout the day. I don't want to give too much information, but anyway, I feel like the car being a presence in it is what makes this book perfect for the song. And also, Lynn Painter puts playlists at the end of, I think, all of her books, if not most of her books, and she puts Taylor Swift on a lot of those albums. So again, I just feel like it fits the vibe. So that's that one. Okay, so the next album is Lover, and the song I picked off of Lover is Cruel Summer. So the book that I picked for Cruel Summer is The Summer of Broken Rules. That's a tongue twister, try to say that 5 times fast. But I read this one on Libby, or through Libby. Anyway, so the premise of this book is Meredith is going to her cousin's wedding at Martha's Vineyard, or I don't know if it's on Martha's Vineyard, or I don't know, I've never been there. Anyway, so her family every year has this big game of assassin, and her target for assassin ends up being this really cute groomsman. Anyway, you'll just have to read it to find out the rest, but I feel like this goes good for Cruel Summer because it's a summer romance, and there's a little bit of conflict, I think, in the song through the lyrics, and there's a little bit of conflict in this book. Also, a bonus is that, if I'm not mistaken, there are quite a few Taylor Swift references in this book. Okay, so the next album is one of my favorites, Folklore, and this was very hard to pick a song, but I picked Betty, and I have 2 books actually for Betty, and they are Love in Other Words and Every Summer After, and both of these books have the childhood friends to lovers trope, and I won't go into too much detail about it, but Betty is a song about childhood romance, or I think, well, not childhood, but I think that the characters in Betty are high school students, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why I feel like it fits for this song. And in Betty, the characters, because this is like a storytelling album, storytelling song, the narrator, I guess you could say, of Betty has done something wrong and like messed up and is trying to like beg for forgiveness. And I feel like in both of these books there's a conflict where the character does something wrong and they're trying to earn the forgiveness of the person they love. So I think both of those books fit for Betty. So the next album is Evermore, and I just had to pick Cowboy Like Me because it's one of my favorite Taylor songs ever. But the book that I think is most fitting for this book that I've read is Done and Dusted by Lyla Sage, and this is the first and only, I think, cowboy romance that I've read. So I think this one fits perfectly because it's set on a ranch, and so it's like a cowgirl and there's a cowboy, and like I said, it's a romance. The tropes in this book are like possessive brothers, which I love that trope, and also protective boyfriend, which I really like. Now, I will give a warning. I would rate this like 5 flames on the spice scale. Like, this book is spicy, and if you're like me and you're not super into all that, just be aware that you're gonna have to skip through a lot in this book. But I did like the core of this book and the representation of ADHD in this book and the overall romance. I don't feel like the spice took away from the romance, which is pretty rare. I think that Cowboy Like Me would be a great song for Done and Dusted. Okay, so the next album is Midnights, and the song that I picked from Midnights is Anti-Hero, and the book that I picked for this one is Happiness for Beginners by Katherine, which I actually just finished reading. This is my most recent read. And why I think the song and the book go together is because Helen, the main character, goes on this hiking retreat to kind of try to find herself, reinvent herself, because she just went through a really messy divorce, and she ends up bringing her best friend's brother, Jake, with her. Well, she doesn't mean to bring him with her. He kind of just like intrudes on her trip in a way. Anyway, they end up having a little romance, but the main reason that I picked the book for the song is just because Helen, when she gets when Helen gets to the retreat, she realizes that she's the oldest person there. Like, the rest of the people that went on this retreat are like college age students, including Jake. So there's this line in Anti-Hero that's like, sometimes I feel like everyone is a sexy baby and I'm a monster on a hill. And I just immediately thought of this book, especially since they're literally on a hill, or a mountain, but you know the vibes. So I feel like the whole time she's just feeling out of place, and that's kind of what the song is about. She's really down on herself and feels like she's always the one messing everything up. So I really like this book, and I think it fits perfectly for Anti-Hero. Okay, so the last album is The Tortured Poets Department, and I absolutely love this album. I think it might be my favorite now. So the song I picked off of The Tortured Poets Department is My Boy Breaks His Favorite Toys, and the reason I picked this song is because I recently reread It Ends With Us, and it made me think of this song. I just feel like the two fit perfectly together. Like, the substance is the same, to me anyway. So that's all I really have to say about that. My boy only break. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, don't do that. I was just kidding. Like, I don't actually want that to be in there, but I don't have anything else to say about that. I really don't. So okay guys, so that's it for today's video. And again, this is my first ever video, so if you liked the video, please like it and comment and subscribe, and any support that you could show me would be greatly appreciated, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Reading with Rissa, you just watch Reading with Rissa.